Guess where I am? White Cliffs of, no, not Dover, actually very near to Beachy Head. This is Birling Gap, and it's very easily accessible on the number 12 bus from Eastbourne, it turns out, and I am walking the 5 miles back to Old Town Eastbourne because my 3 girls, the hens, will be missing me if I don't get there for their supper, not to mention Bob and Bibi the cats. I had the pleasure of the company of 2 young women on my lunch bench here. One from China, Nanking, and the other from Japan. I think she said Nagoya. I have no idea where either of those fine cities are because I'm British and I wouldn't know. I do know where China and Japan are roughly. And we got chatting, which was absolutely delightful. They are both studying maths and economics at London University, or one of the London universities, and they've just finished their exams and come for a breath of fresh air. I can't fault them at all. In our conversation, I did ask a few leading questions, which I thought might just create a sort of Sino-British rapport. So I asked, they asked me, of course, like everybody else does, what do you do? I said I make videos about meditation, and we talked a little about that a Chinese girl did actually do meditation in high school as part of the curriculum. So I asked her, do you meditate in Chinese or English? And she stopped and looked a bit puzzled, and looked up and thought about it, and then she was very definite in English. I said, well, that's very interesting because I meditate in English too. And then we both laughed, of course, because does meditation have a language? Does meditation need a language? Surely the whole point of meditation is that it transcends a particular language or indeed cultural wrapping. That's, I suppose, the ideal, or part of the deal in meditation, that you transcend the separate and the particular, the person of this separate little me, and you join up. So I would like to think that we were not Chinese, Japanese and English. We were just spirit or consciousness, if that's not too far-fetched. So it did beg the question, does consciousness have a language at all? I do like the cartoon of 2 monks in their robes sitting on a mountain top in half lotus position, and one says to the other, are you not thinking what I'm not thinking? And I suppose that's the idea. Do we meditate in Chinese? Do we meditate in English? Well, hopefully, with a bit of practice, the answer's neither. Which begs the question, is there then a common language? What is the... Yes, of course, we know what the answer to that is, don't we, straight away, as soon as it is posed. The language of meditation is silence. And it's far more eloquent than any words that you can conjure up from the mind to describe it. The other thing that struck me is you can see people walking on the cliff edge. Well, just don't look over is my advice, because it really is a cliff edge. I reckon it must be about 200 feet drop. A friend of a friend took me to the vets yesterday. Not me. There's nothing wrong with me. It was Nancy hen who's got a bit of a cold, and he told me that on average there are 2 suicides a day from the cliffs along here, from here, Birling Gap to Beachy Head. And I wasn't, actually I was going to say I wasn't tempted. That's not true. I was tempted, not in any sort of despairing, fatalistic or even existential statement. But I don't know about you. I've spoken to several people over the years who, when offered a drop, find themselves ineluctably drawn to it like a moth to a fly. No, it's not a moth to a fly. That's cross-species pollination. No, like a moth to a flame. And there is something. It's not even dark. It's quite bright. It's a sort of pull towards oblivion, yes, but also transcendence in a way. The sort of relief of not continually psychologically having to keep it all together. Anyway, that I better be careful what I say, otherwise I'll have the blooming Samaritans phoning me up, and I've not even phoned them. It's a provocative thing, the idea that just literally here, a few feet away, is for me what could, or for anybody who's on the cliff top here, could be the end of it all as we know it. And so, you know what I'm going to say next, don't you? Is that all there is? As the song sung by many over the years, including, I think, Doris Day, if you look it up on Spotify. Other streamers are available. Is that all there is? Well, to a human life, if we are just material, if you're a physicalist, yes, that's all there is. Sayonara. And I personally know 4 people for whom that has been a choice. I have to say, there was one occasion where I stood on the bridge over the Danube in Budapest at a particularly low ebb and sort of made a half-hearted sort of conversation or Russian roulette sort of idea, shall I, shan't I? But that was many years ago and has not recurred. But I think you'd be surprised if you actually knew how many of your close acquaintances had danced with the infinite, with the edge of life and what's beyond. And so my stance, or my sitting stance, here on Beachy Head, where ending it all is just a choice of the mind, is to say keep your mind, what's the word, clean, untainted, refreshed. Keep the air conditioner on in the mind. I'm not quite sure what I'm saying. Keep your fish pond filtered. It's such a trickster, the mind, as the people I mentioned discovered, and something we are thankfully taking more seriously. Certainly in this country, the UK, there's a lot more coverage from sports people and singers. I was watching a video clip of the singer Laura Mvula, who suffers from chronic anxiety on a day-to-day basis and yet can perform before 20,000 people at Glastonbury. The mind, bit of a mind fuck at times, isn't it? But you know, I like the expression, it is often, or I would say always, it's always better to live the question than need the answer. And so this is Phil from Beachy Head, or thereabouts, signing off on his thoughts on mental health for the day. Catch you later. The other thing that me and my new Chinese and Japanese friend pondered is whether maths, which is what they are both studying, is discovered or invented. In other words, is it a product of human imagination? So, if you wind the clock back 400,000 years before, let's say, Homo sapiens, if there was nobody to add 1 and 1 and make 2, did it exist? This pulled the rug on their whole academic career. They couldn't answer that. They thought maths was made up. But I know some Nobel laureates who think that, are convinced that maths is an embedded part of this universe's reality. What do you think?